The suburbs promise peace and neatly trimmed lawns, quiet nights, and friendly neighbors, but sometimes that calm hides something deeply wrong. Behind those white picket fences, real horror waits. These true stories will make you question how well you really know the people living just across the street. The suburbs always painted themselves as the last safe place: clean lawns, warm lighting, soccer moms with wine-stained smiles, and golden retrievers wagging their tails behind white fences. But after what I experienced, I can never drive past a cul-de-sac without feeling like something is watching me, waiting to finish what it started. It began on a Sunday evening just like any other, the kind where the wind has a whisper to it and the sky dims a little faster than it should. When I moved into Brookpine Grove, a tight-knit suburban community in Connecticut with cheerful neighbors who brought me casseroles, gossiped in the mornings by their mailboxes, and hosted book clubs where everyone pretended not to hate each other. And yet from my very first night, I knew something was wrong. I heard scratching behind the walls in my new home. Slow at first, like a cat trying to dig its way out, but there was no attic access, and the pest control found nothing. Then came the doorbell rings at 3:13 a.m. on consecutive nights, where I'd rush to the door and find nothing but fog and silence. Until the fourth night, when I opened the door and there was a single Polaroid on the porch showing me sleeping in bed, taken from inside the room. I showed the photo to my neighbor, Carol, a retired school teacher with too many wind chimes and dead plants, and she smiled thinly and said, "It's just a prank the kids do here, the welcome ritual." And when I asked more questions, she slammed the door in my face, and I didn't see her again. Her house remained dark from that day, though I still heard her rocking chair creaking through the window at night. One morning, I found a trail of dried red wax leading from her doorstep to my garage, and when I opened the garage door, I found dozens of cassette tapes labeled with dates going back to 1993, each one with my address on them despite me only having lived there for 5 days. I played the first tape and heard the muffled sounds of people screaming, begging for help, followed by a low gurgling voice that said, "Brookpine eats the ones who ask," and then nothing but static. And when I checked the neighborhood Facebook group to ask if anyone else had received strange tapes, my post was deleted within seconds, and then my account was banned. I started noticing cars parked across the street at night, with their engines running and lights off, and when I walked toward them, they'd vanish, actually vanish. I'm talking full fade out into the air, like mist sucked into a vacuum. And one night I placed a camera on my windowsill and caught something that made me want to claw my own eyes out. There was a man, bald, naked, pale as chalk, with no face, crawling out of Carol's backyard into mine, crawling upside down, like his back bent the wrong way, and he stared directly at the camera with a twitching head, as if he knew I was watching. I called the police, and they came, but not before a group of 4 neighbors surrounded my house with flashlights and stood motionless, staring at my windows for hours until dawn, when they simply walked away like nothing happened. And no one believed me. Not the cops, not my coworkers, and even my sister stopped picking up my calls. So I tried to leave. I really did. I packed everything and drove toward the highway. But my GPS looped endlessly back into Brookpine Grove, every road a circle, and even when I used a paper map, I'd blink and find myself parked outside my house again, gaslighted by geometry itself. And then came the disappearances, the mailman, whose truck sat parked with the engine running for days, mail undelivered. Then the Wilson twins, 2 cheerful kids who rode their scooters every day, until one morning I saw their scooters left in the middle of the street, with tiny handprints smeared in something black on the handles. And their mother, Mandy, stood barefoot outside, screaming their names until her voice gave out. And the next day she was gone, too, just gone. No furniture in the house, as though she'd never lived there at all. The homeowners association began patrolling the neighborhood with smiles so wide they looked like injuries. handing out pamphlets on community silence and warning us that speaking out would invite suburban decay. And when I crumpled mine and threw it away, I found my garbage can filled the next morning with human teeth, all stained and jagged, along with another Polaroid, this time of me in the shower, mouth open in a scream I never remembered making. The worst came the night I decided to confront whatever lived under my house. I'd been hearing a voice whispering my name through the heating vents, and I followed it, crawling under the floorboards with a flashlight, where I found a hatch door, nailed shut with rusted symbols carved around it, and as I pulled the nails free, the air turned thick like syrup, and my ears began to bleed from a shrieking I felt more than heard, and the hatch opened on its own to reveal a spiral staircase, made of teeth, no exaggeration, actual molars and canines locked together in a descending corkscrew that stank of copper and rot. I stepped down into it, because something inside me was compelled, like being puppeted by dread itself. And what I saw at the bottom I've never been able to describe, only that it was alive, vast, breathing through the soil, and pulsing like a tumor, and inside it were people, neighbors I'd thought had moved awafts into its flesh, eyes darting in terror as their mouths moved silently, forming the word run over and over. And when I tried to climb back up, the staircase was gone, and I was trapped for what felt like days until I awoke in my backyard with dirt in my mouth and claw marks all over my arms. I tried to tell someone, anyone, but my voice came out distorted, like the words were being translated mid-sentence by something non-human. So I gave up and pretended to assimilate time owed the lawn. I waved at the neighbors. I went to the book club and listened as they discussed the best way to preserve sacrifice sites and where to hide offerings when new residents moved in. All while sipping lemonade that tasted faintly of pennies and grief. I'm writing this now, on a stolen laptop from the HOA office, hidden in the crawl space beneath lot 11. The only place where their eyes can't see me, and I don't know how much longer I have before I'm found. But if you're reading this and thinking of moving to a quiet neighborhood for peace and quiet, and because the suburbs lie, and sometimes the monsters you fear most aren't hiding in the city's shadows, but waiting patiently behind trimmed hedges, smiling at you with your own face. If this story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Drop a comment below if you've ever experienced something creepy in your neighborhoodium. Always watching the comments, and you never know, your story might be next.